Okay, have you ever seen Celebrity Big Brother UK?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched that before it was popular.
Okay. So you
I watched it illegally.
Okay, don't implicate yourself in the first 3 minutes of the podcast, please.
It was on YouTube. It was uploaded illegally. I didn't upload it. Someone else did.
You're going under the jail with Amber Heard. You're going to be in the same cell.
She's going to shit on my pillow.
I think they call that a shillo.
My dog stepped on a bee.
Thought Criminal, welcome. This week's edition, we're talking about...
We never have an opening. Why are you just making one out of your ass now?
Well, because it's better than it's just diving right and just being like, pussy, 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 or something like that. Like
That's half the fun. They literally feel like they're walking in on a conversation.
That's the problem. They're going to start... Someone's going to hit play in a public place, and they're going to hear this. And
Eat a bag of raw fuck, bitch.
And they're going to get arrested. You're going to be the reason that someone loses their job.
I'm okay with that.
Then they're going to come after us, and then we'll at least have a guest. So, Thought Criminal, welcome. We've been doing a taste test of Costco vodkas. And I'm sure most of you have heard the adage that Costco has a store brand vodka, a Kirkland brand vodka, that people say is equivalent in taste to and or made in the same facility as Grey Goose vodka. Now, when you go into Costco, most Costcos have 2 Costco branded Kirkland vodkas available. One of them is in kind of a cylindrical bottle, and it says American vodka distilled 7 times, and it's something like $12. You know, good price for a 1.5 liter bottle of vodka.
Huge.
Yeah. So we had that. And it was good. It's strong, but not in an offensive way.
That's what I made my Skittles vodka out of.
It was good. They also have one for something like $16. Same size bottle and like a tapered bottle that's red at the bottom. That's a French vodka distilled 5 times. Kirkland brand as well. And so I thought, because I've had the $12 one before, to the point where I've refilled bottles of Grey Goose with it and no one said shit. But what?
Illegal.
That's not illegal. I'm not running a bar.
I was about to say illegal in a bar.
Right.
Not at your home, I guess.
Which they definitely do it by you, by the way. Like, they put fucking Burnett's in those Grey Goose bottles. Like, they do that. No, we had this other kind, and that's supposed to be... I didn't know which was supposed to be the one aping Grey Goose, and... We had this other one in the red bottle that's more expensive, and yet it's a lot, like,
potent.
Paint thinner stronger. So, we make our usual drinks before we start, and that's what we had, and so, we're going to see how that works out.
I'm so sorry you're going to kill me for bringing this up, because I name them every fucking podcast. I was listening to a podcast. Guess who?
What's it called? Legal Eagles with David French.
No. It was the different one. But
they have multiple ones?
We've talked about this before. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was listening to one of their podcasts. But it wasn't a bad take. I heard them say something and I go, they were acting like it was common knowledge, and I'm going, that's not common knowledge. So they're under the impression that everyone else is under the impression that Biden's not going to run again.
That's not what he's saying.
He has to say, in public that he's running again. Otherwise, he'll be a lame duck president early.
And by
and
the
they
way,
don't want that to happen. The optics and the political games behind it might be bad.
And he hasn't given any indication that he's even waffled on the decision. In fact, he said, no, I'm announcing I'm in, I'm running, and everything. And
right.
if at the last minute he doesn't want to, what if he got enough convention votes and then he wins? That's, He
has to run? I don't know.
It's like, when you go all the way to the convention, then it's like, there's other primary candidates, and maybe it's like him and Pete and, Martin O'Malley or some shit, or Amy Klobuchar. And he wins, and it's like, well, now you're stuck. Now you have to get him to resign or something, but if you win the convention votes, you become the party's nominee, which has screwed a lot of major parties in the past, and that's how you end up with like Wendell Willkie and other people who were like, I don't know if I really want to do this.
Right. Well, so again, they were talking on their podcast as if this is common knowledge that he's not actually going to run again.
No.
But it took me by surprise. I was like, that is not common knowledge, I don't think.
As of a week ago, he said, when I run again.
Most of them are in that bubble and in that, like, beltway circle. So, maybe they know things that we don't. I would be perfectly happy if he didn't run again. I don't think he should, given his track record and his age and his declining stability. But... who are the other options? You named a few. I don't want to get into that. That's not a discussion to get into. But I would be perfectly happy if he didn't run again.
So they both are in agreement that they think that he's not going to run again?
It's not both.
Sarah Isgur.
It's all four.
Oh, it's all of the Dispatch people.
Yes.
Well, why would they
Jonah Goldberg, Stephen Hayes, David French, and Sarah Isgur. I think Stephen Hayes is the one who said it. And no one questioned him about saying it.
Why would they say that? Because they wanted him to win last time. In fact, they endorsed him. The National Review and the Dispatch and the Bulwark and the bullshit and all of them basically endorsed him and wanted him to win. So why would you not want him to run again? You got what you wanted. Who do they think is better? Oh, God. They're going to probably endorse like Evan McMuffin or something like that to run.
I don't know... I don't know who they would want to even win the Republican primary.
Liz Cheney.
Maybe. But she's not going to...
Or Adam Kinzinger.
She's not going to run, much less win.
She's more of a man than Adam Kinzinger is.
I have no problem opening the can of worms and saying that I kind of hope Trump does not run again. I know he will.
Well, here's the thing. That seems to be I don't denigrate that perspective because I think that a lot of people have come from that same perspective for a variety of reasons. Some people say it's because he's still focusing on the 2020 election stuff. Some people have said because he doesn't have the platform that he used to have. Some people say that he doesn't, he's gotten rote with some of his phrases and things like that. But completely my own emotions and decisions removed from that, the quality of his campaigning on the whole for the past few months has been better than it was during the 2020 Senate election and better than it was even in the 2018 primary elections. He really wants to get people elected that are a part of, the 2022 primaries and the Senate and Congress elections and governors and all those things.
Right. However, I'm having some 2020 flashbacks in looking at the people that he endorsed and how they're kind of failing or floundering in those states that he supposedly lost in 2020.
Well,
so Georgia, Pennsylvania is still up in the air, right?
Oz will win.
But the point is, it's too close to call right now, and it shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean?
Right. And with the Oz thing, it's weird because you had a weird primary, and you had this Kathy Barnett woman who I'd never heard of until a week before the election, and then comes out and is like, I'm the true Trump candidate, even though he didn't endorse her. So she was kind of a spoiler in that regard. And then the other one was a McCormick.
Right, so...
That was this establishment person.
She came out of nowhere, as you said.
I don't even know who she is.
The Log Cabin Republicans have vehemently pushed against her.
Against her?
Against her.
What
because
did she say,
she has apparently said some questionable remarks in the past of both tweets and apparent live comments where she didn't want to be in the presence of someone who was gay.
Oh.
She felt, I don't know, dirty or she felt just gross being in their presence.
Oh my God, I like her now.
And she has said this out loud, and so as such, Log Cabin and Rick Grinnell have said we don't think she would be the best candidate, and have then
Yeah.
backed Oz.
Yeah.
But who knows if that is because of Trump or or what?
Well, a couple things. First of all, if it was an establishment and a Trump endorsed candidate, more likely than not, Oz would have won, heads over heels.
Yes.
So that would have been the situation. Without a Trump endorsement, it would have been kind of a photo finish, I think. If Trump endorsed Barnett or endorsed the other guy or something like that, you would have probably had a pretty even split there, maybe with Oz losing. But him getting the endorsement, I think, is what carried him over the top. I don't think that there was a single race where Trump endorsed somebody where it was a closed primary for Republican voters only. Because Georgia, I believe, was an open primary. Cawthorn's race was an open primary. And maybe the one in South Dakota, it was like some South Dakota governor candidate or something, and Idaho was an open primary for McGean. So I believe that those were all open primaries, and they did a poll, something like up to 20% of the voters that voted in those elections where the non-Trump endorsed candidate on the right one were Democrats.
As you said, I know that some states are different in, who's allowed to vote in primary. So apparently some of the shit that happened in Georgia is because some of the Democrats flipped
Right.
over and voted in the Republican primary when, I'm sorry, in my opinion, they shouldn't be allowed to.
Yes.
If you're not a registered member of that party, you shouldn't be allowed to vote in their primaries. Like that to me, that's common sense.
And in states like California, which has the largest percentage, I think, of most states of having non-affiliated voters, they leave it up to the local parties or the state parties to decide, do you want to open your primary or not? So the Republican primary in California is a closed primary. You have to be a registered Republican to vote in it, which is why I cannot vote in it. But the Democratic
registered
primary,
as?
Non-affiliated, because I don't want shit in the mail. But
That's why you're not affiliated.
it's true, because if you register Republican in California, they will follow you to the end of the earth. Or Democrat. If you register under any party in California, if you register under Peace and Freedom, you will have some little asshole in a kilt on your doorstep handing you shit.
I'm still registered as a libertarian in New Mexico.
Gary Johnson all the way. But
You know what?
I liked him.
As an aside, just for a second, I went to a Gary Johnson rally. The man is fun. The man was an amazing, I wasn't even living there, but I know that the man was an amazing governor
He's a great guy.
of the state of New Mexico.
Yeah.
Democrats loved him. The woman that I lived with worked underneath him for a little while. She loved him. She hates Republicans. She hates libertarians. She said he was good.
He was a rare sort of non-partisan success. Kind of like a Jesse Ventura, but a little bit more focused. Like, whereas it was like, you could be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, you could be independent, you could be whatever, and you could be like, okay, this he's unique.
He was loved by everyone because apparently he left the state in amazing shape. And then
And then your girl, Michelle.
well, no, because I think after him was
Oh, Susana Martinez.
yeah,
I liked
Susana
her.
Martinez came in. Was she a one-term governor?
I think so.
Apparently, she just didn't do that good of a job, and
Really?
and the reason that Michelle Lujan Grisham won
Is because of
is
Susana
because of
Martinez?
her.
Because she was drunk at that party?
well, she had some scandals underneath her, which were fucking ridiculous. But
Yeah.
apparently, she also just kind of squandered the surplus and the money that Johnson left her.
Well, Susana Martinez, and I didn't even plan on getting on this topic. A couple things.
Who plans on talking about Susana Martinez?
Well, here we are. Maybe, I don't know, her husband? I don't know, here we are.
I sang in front of her.
That's right.
I sang in front of her and in front of Michelle Lujan Grisham.
And they just trot you out every single time there's a new governor in New Mexico, and you're like the cantata or something like that.
they came to a funeral that I was singing for.
People keep dying.
Yes, people kept dying, and I got paid. And I won't.
I feel like there was a profit motive. Is there a reason you had to leave New Mexico that you don't want to tell me?
I plead the fifth, and I will not talk about such things unless I am in a court of law. Anyway, No, I sang in front of Susanna Martina. She was actually quite nice. I sang in front of Michelle Lujan Grisham, who, by the way, for the Catholic listeners that are listening, the funeral that I sang for, at which Michelle Lujan Grisham was in attendance.
Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
The bitch was in attendance. She went up to receive communion, and she was denied by the priest.
Whoa!
Because, and this was a young, fairly liberal priest, by the way.
Wow.
But because of her stance on abortion, and because of her, I think even like recently before that, she had come out and said, agreed with the whole like third trimester abortions, like barbaric bullshit.
They're really bad, like,
yes.
post-birth abortion.
Right. Like, she was all for, like, up to the day before birth, like, towing the fucking party line.
So what's it like?
He said no.
So what's it like when you refuse communion? Will you go up to get the wafer
Well, I mean,
and they just pass you along or something?
Could you not say wafer, please? I was singing, and I wasn't...
It's a communion wafer. That's what it's called, right? Okay, the body of Christ, the blood of Christ. Yes, but it's a communion wafer.
Okay,
That's the item.
I was singing, and I wasn't able to pay it that much of attention because I had to.
I didn't say cars.
Pay attention to the. I had to pay attention to the music that I was singing because it was a funeral. I was getting paid. Like, I needed to emote for these people, as if I had a soul or emotions. I just noticed out of the corner of my eye, she came up, and he pulled back.
Oh my god!
And motioned her to move on, and she did not protest. She just moved on because she knew not to cause a scene. Because that would be really bad.
It's gonna be
right?
so embarrassing, as it should be. But
the thing is, like, I feel like I'm the only person who knew that.
Right.
Like, it was not covered by the media.
Right.
No one knew that. I happened to be standing right there,
and he didn't release a press release like with the Nancy Pelosi.
Right?
thing.
No. There was no press. Like, no one knows this. Yeah. I'm the only person who really knows this because I saw here. I was seeing out the periphery of my vision that she walked up, and he recoiled. He was like, "No."
Oh my gosh!
And she moved on, and she sat down, and I was like,
I should make.
Good for you.
You know what? They have those purses that have the wine bladders and the nozzles in the bottom. And they should make one specifically for pro-abortion Catholics. So you could fill up with your communion wine, and you could put a little sleeve of Ritz crackers in there. And if they don't give it to you, and you're hungry, you can just sit in the back row and munch. And
this is the most sacrilegious.
Well, they're already sacrilegious. They might as well go all out. They might as well bring a charcuterie board and sit in the back of the church and munch. What do you think? So now that Nancy Pelosi can't get communion, we know that she's getting wine elsewhere.
We have gone on a huge tangent.
We're coming. Trust me. I'll bring this back.
You remember where to come back
I'll bring this back. I put a guide rope. Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul.
We've been here before. I recognize that tree.
Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, was arrested. He's like 83 years old or something for DUI in Napa.
How old is she?
Also like 83 or something like that. She's not in her 90s yet. She's younger than Feinstein, which is an achievement. As are we all.
Well, I was about to say, that's not an achievement. Because literally everyone on the fucking face of the planet is younger than Dianne Feinstein.
I meant it's an achievement that Feinstein's older than she is.
Oh,
but yes, you're right. I misspoke.
Right, the way you phrased it.
The way I phrased it. That's why I'm not a linguist. But I am cunning. So,
no, you're not.
So Paul Pelosi, her husband. Let's talk about. Can we change the name of this? We have to at this point. We have to change the name of the show. Let's talk about the husband. Let's talk about her husband. So Paul Pelosi.
That could be the name of this episode.
All right, Paul Pelosi, who she's been married to since.
That's an unfortunate name.
Paul Pelosi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his son's Paul Pelosi Jr. And he's apparently a fuck up. But there's a whole he's a Hunter Biden. But that's a whole other story. So Paul Pelosi,
a whole nother story.
Who they've been married to, since they've been wedded bliss since the Spanish-American War, was driving.
I thought you were going to say Spanish Inquisition, which probably would have been better.
Also true, which she headed. was driving in Oakville, which is a very, very small neighborhood in Napa, very exclusive, very wealthy, lots of wineries around there. It's by Yountville. So like you stay in Yountville, Oakville is one of the neighborhoods, then you go to the Stags Leap District, then you go up to St. Helena. So it's right by the Silverado Trail.
Okay.
So he was driving up there, made a left onto one of the main streets, because it's a lot of little narrow streets between the wineries, but it's clear visibility. Like, it's hard to miss anything because there's nothing tall. Like, grapevines are only 6 feet high and you can see through them. So...
Well, I was going to ask, was this at night? I didn't read the story.
It was at, I think, like 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay. Well,
he's driving a Porsche.
There are no, like, street lights out there.
Right. But
to his credit,
okay,
you know, he might have not seen something because there's no...
But you don't know the whole story.
No, I don't know
this wasn't in the initial thing. So you think, okay, 80-year-old man driving a Porsche at 9, 10 o'clock at night, has had a few glasses of wine, inevitably, or a few drinks, goes out to go drive home, where she lives in the northern part of St. Helena, so it's probably like a 6-8 mile drive up there. And
they don't live together?
Well, they live together, I would say. Like, they have a winery up
there. But no, you act like he was like, she lives up there, but he lives over there with a concubine?
He lives in Scottsdale, I don't know. So this is when it gets weird. He makes off of one of the thin sort of streets, which is probably, he left a winery and probably left a friend's house or something. Up in his Porsche, makes a left at the stop sign, but it's his yield to whoever is coming, like it's nonstop traffic across, gets hit by he hits another vehicle that's traveling down that street. So the vehicle's coming, he hits them, thankfully no one's injured. Some guy, Angel Lopez or something like that, is driving a Lexus. Lexus hits a Porsche, but he apparently was in such bad shape that they had to give a road sobriety test, and he failed by a lot. For all we know, Paul Pelosi had a blow-up doll or like a twink or something in the passenger seat, which is why this story should not have gotten out. But it was apparently was so drunk, they tested him at the accident, he failed, and then they had to bring him in and book him, and he had to bail out by 5:30 in the morning. Now, there was no security with him, which is strange, number one. Number two, these people are worth over $100 million. You can't get a driver after a couple drinks? Why was he driving his own Porsche in the middle of the night?
Wait, Nancy wasn't with him?
Nancy was in Rhode Island giving a speech on Memorial Day weekend. So she wasn't even on this side of the country.
This is how little homework I've done. I did not read the story at all.
And she has made no comment on the situation. In fact, her office released a statement saying, we will have no comment on the situation. So this is a weird deal. So it's like, was there like someone else in the car? It was not said. What, you know.
It could have been a potential Kennedy situation.
Yeah, like Chappaquiddick or something like that. Maybe. So that part has been kept very quiet, but it's a weird deal where it's like, first of all, the husband of the person third in line to the president probably should have security and doesn't. That's strange. Number two, or ditch the security. Number two, why is he driving himself?
Well, maybe he did ditch security if he had someone else with him.
Or something like that. Because obviously, if he had security with him, we would not have heard about this story. Like, he would have been driving and it would have been like, oh, the security was driving, oh, you know, hand the Napa cops $100 and, you know, off you go. So, fucked up deal. If I'm the Lopez family, this was like hitting the lottery. Like, they are going to find themselves.
You might be the Lopez family, you know.
I might be. I'm gonna do my 23andMe again. They're gonna find more Mexican cousins down in Jalisco. I'm already a Gutierrez and a Gonzalez and a Ramirez. There's just 6 cousins. So here we go. But anyway, so that was an interesting story.
Is that where you always smell of cilantro?
No, I thought it was soap. So back to Susana Martinez. Speaking of drunk Mexicans. Back to Susana Martinez.
We have gone so far.
So far. So you heard the story about what happened to her in Santa Fe, right?
Well, I mean, that's where she lived, but with the whole pizza and getting drunk and all that bullshit. Yeah.
So do you want to tell the story for the listeners?
No.
Because that was interesting. Why? Were you there?
I don't know the details.
So apparently, I think they were staying at the El Dorado Hotel, or there was some big hotel party that they had.
Okay, the story that I know, the story that people told me was... Apparently it was a big deal that she she got drunk at some event, and she said, "We're ordering pizza," or something like that, and called to order pizza, and then maybe put it on someone's, like, on the state's...
The government's tab?
Yeah.
No, I did, the story I heard was that they were drunk and loud, and the cops came because they were called for a noise complaint, and she was like, "I'm the governor, I can be as loud as I want," or something like that, and then it got, like, which I think
Still, that's ridiculous. Like, it's the stupidest shit.
right, and it's in Santa Fe, but so everyone's old and pissed, so that probably explains it.
And liberal.
So that's probably why. But back to Susana Martinez. I think I wrote a piece at the time.
There are more gays in Santa Fe per capita than San Francisco.
Happy Pride Month. The gays are all sitting there making bad art.
Hi, gay!
Hi, gay. Hi, gay. From Cecily's Butter Shop. So, Susanna, I think... Now, she used to be a Democrat. She and her husband both used to be Democrats. They had a conversion. They found out
Right,
that...
she told that story at the...
RNC, 2016.
I was about to say, but which one? Was that... That was,
2016. Yeah.
McCain.
McCain? No, that was not 2008. She wasn't elected in 2008.
No.
Romney? 2012? She said at the RNC, and I thought it was 2016.
No, it was not 2016.
So that was 2012.
Yes.
Okay. Because she had just been elected governor after that, before that. At the time, I said, I remember, because it was like, okay, Trump should pick someone with executive experience, ideally is female, and even more ideally from a minority. She was the person who he should have picked in 2016 to be his vice presidential candidate.
Wait, who?
He should have picked Susana Martinez.
But who?
Trump.
Oh,
In
okay,
2016.
gotcha.
Because she hadn't gotten to the bad part of her governor term. She was still in the good part. Like, she was still considered to be, like, good and having done a good job. It kind of declined a little bit after that, but... Because Lujan came in 2018, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So 2016 it was still good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So 2016 she was still doing well. It would have been a good sort of off-ramp for her, and he would have gotten a lot of cover with the Hispanic community, and she would have been she's a good campaigner, and she speaks well. And that could have been a good, like, I'm a former Democrat and I'm a Republican because of these issues. Like, that would have been a good pick. I always thought that Mike Pence was like a fucking popsicle stick with googly eyes put on it. And at best, useless, at worst, damaging, and he turned out to be damaging at the end. And speaking of 2024, he has made every overture that he will run, which you would have a really horrible, like, Taft-Roosevelt situation if something like that happens. That's a bad idea. And I don't know who out there is like, what person? It's like the Santorum voters.
He has no, like...
It's like the Santorum voters or the Huckabee voters. Why would you support this person? You don't just because they're Christian, that's why you support them? There's thousands of other Christians that can be there. You pick the dumbest possible person to be in that role?
Because of the backstabbing, I don't think he has a chance in hell.
I don't either, but that's considered... He thinks... Another person, speaking of backstabbing, who thinks that they can be president in 2024 is Mike Pompeo.
Oh, Jesus.
You see he lost 100 pounds? He went down to Georgia to endorse the person that was running against the person that Trump endorsed. He and Pence are in cahoots. So it's like the who's who of the who's left.
I had no idea that he had aspirations to be...
Oh, 100%. He's been running for president for the past 5 years.
Pompeo?
Yes. Even when he was at the Trump administration. Why else do you think he went out and gave all speeches and he was at North Korea and all that shit? Yeah. So you have two former Trump administration members that are considering running against him.
Okay.
Which would be a vile mistake.
So, we shouldn't go too much longer. Because I don't want to edit too much.
Because you're late. I'm kidding.
So that being said, other than them, who are the possible people running as Republicans for president?
Well, there's the one
2024?
person that I want to come back to, who is the governor person, who is the most obvious choice.
But DeSantis has said he's not going to run.
Well, I want to come back to him because that's...
But he said he's not going to run.
That's a separate case. So, okay, other names. Larry Hogan.
No, we have to bring this up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to circle back to him at the end. I'm going to mention him at the end. I want to mention other smaller
but-
people and get them out of the way.
Jen Psaki, I would like to talk about him first because I have reasons to believe why, from his own mouth, why he would not run.
We'll unpack that. I promise.
Okay, I'll shut my
Just
mouth.
give
Go
me
ahead,
one
go
second.
ahead, go
Give me
ahead.
1 second. So the other names you have, because you asked, Larry Hogan in Maryland, who considers himself a centrist Republican. Nobody knows him. He's funny looking, so I don't think that he'll be running. Sununu, who is the governor of New Hampshire, another person, funny looking.
No,
You know,
like
Greeks don't do well in public office as Republicans, so off the list. And then outside of that, you would have someone like a Nikki Haley. Bad. That would be the worst choice you could make. You talk about she was the original Kamala, sleeping her way up to the top, and doing everything in pursuit of self gain.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nikki Haley is a no, and I guess Kristi Noem or other sort of like small governors and everything like this that you could potentially have.
I don't think she would run either.
No, and she's not very smart, so off the list. So let's bring us back to the person who would be the front runner if Trump does not run, and that is DeSantis in Florida.
Well, no,
Him running.
I'm sorry, but by polls, he is the front runner. Period. Like he beats Trump.
In no polls.
That's not what I heard.
No, there was one poll.
I mean, yes, I don't
There
believe
was,
polls.
but no,
mostly,
there was
but-
one poll that showed that, and it oversampled Democrats to Republicans. So it was like, who do Democrats and Republicans support? Him. That was the only poll where he beat Trump. It was not potential Republican primary voters. Like, in no state, even in Florida, does he outpace Trump in polling.
Really?
That might change. Now, DeSantis has said that he's going to run for governor again in Florida and then complete that term. So that would push him past the limit to announce that potential candidate.
Correct.
My personal opinion is, I think that it's very good that we pick a governor. That's always good. Do not pick a senator. Do not pick a member of Congress. We don't do well with that. We have not in the past. We picked senators twice in the past couple elections and have fucked us up. So don't do that. Governors win. Members of Congress don't. So they're that's been a rule since what? Taft. And that was a fluke. And he got stuck in the tub. So there you go. See what it got us? DeSantis, though, needs to. I think he has more impact as the governor of Florida and showing an example of the best state management that you could have. Especially if he wins, he'll be emboldened. But
Which is why I think he might have aspirations to run, because he's not that old.
no.
He might have aspirations to run in 2028.
Yes. I think
But I
run when your
think-
kids are grown. Don't run with young kids. That's
I
hard.
think he's of the impression and of the mind that he wants to be governor one more term,
Yeah.
and I think he personally wants to let Trump have, like, he doesn't want to be in that contest.
No.
Right? So if he thinks, which we all kind of think, that Trump's going to run again,
Yeah.
then he's not going to.
Yeah.
If he knew that Trump weren't going to run again, then maybe he'd consider it in 2024.
If Trump would give him the endorsement, which he
Right.
happily
Well,
would if
exactly,
he
exactly. If he weren't running, yes.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to force
take
that
flight.
competition.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I don't think that he should. I don't think that would be smart for anybody because even at the end of
Well,
that primary,
because even if they ran and Trump, won the nomination, that could hurt him in the future,
Right.
like for 2028.
and I don't think that the idea like, oh, he should pick DeSantis as running mate. Okay,
No.
yeah, you agree with both of them on policies, but that's not how that process works. You've never had a running mate where you agree with both the person in charge and then the person they pick as their vice president on policy. Like they
Right.
have to have
Yeah.
some kind of degree of difference. Like DeSantis is just a quieter Trump.
I don't know the history enough to know this, but I'm pretty sure this has never happened. I think a perfect running mate, if Trump were to win the nomination again, a perfect running mate would be
Someone dead. He just runs with the corpse.
Tulsi Gabbard.
I
know
agree.
she's a Democrat.
You and I are on the
You know,
same page with this.
She's a Democrat, but is that possible to
Sure.
pick someone of another party to
Why
be your
not?
running mate?
She'd probably have to drop the party affiliation, but sure, why not? I think that that'd be great because I bet if you did a poll of like Trump voters and their opinion of Tulsi Gabbard, it's a higher opinion. They hold her in higher regard, like higher approval rating, than it would among registered Democrats.
I mean, personally, I would love a Kirsten Sinema to be vice president because I have a lot of respect for the
You can't
woman.
have two messy queens on the ticket. Can you imagine? You got two drag queens. Her with that fucking blue wig and that pink wig. She was in.
Giving the fucking thumbs down and the raspberry.
She was in her Jennifer Garner and Alias era, switching up the wigs, the knee-high boots, the fucked up weird print dresses.
Didn't she wear a necklace that said like "fuck you" or something?
She did.
Like that?
She wore a strap on. I don't know. It was a hell of a time.
Oh, God.
She did not give a shit. Her and Joe Manchin are in so many crosshairs now on the Democratic side because of them just saying like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, and it's pissed so many people off.
But
Happy Pride, by the way. Happy Pride Month.
I will
to
say
Kristen Sinema and Kristen Sinema only.
Sinema?
This is Kristen.
I thought it was Kirsten.
Happy Pride Month to Senator Sinema only.
I
That might be the title of the episode.
am under the impression though.
Bisexual icon, by the way. Does she have a partner?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
I am of the mind that Joe Manchin, yes, I'm thankful to him. I thank him for pushing back and doing what he's done. But I think he does it for political purposes, political gain.
She has an ex-husband.
You're not listening to me.
I'm listening.
Joe Manchin is doing the things that he does and has done the things he has done for political reasons and for political capital. Right?
Maybe.
Because he knows that in a state like West Virginia...
Do you think he represents West Virginia accurately, though? I think he might. They keep re-electing him.
But that's the point. He knows that in a state like West Virginia, if he's going to be a Democrat, he has to be as centrist and, right-leaning Democrat as he can possibly be.
So is John Tester in Montana. John Tester's big on guns.
So my point is, I think he's doing it for political reasons.
Maybe.
For the optics.
Yeah.
Kirsten Sinema is not.
Yeah, she doesn't give a fuck.
She's doing it out of integrity, which I have to admire more.
Yeah.
Because she is getting flack from all sides, right?
That's true.
She's getting flack from her Democratic colleagues. She's getting flack from GLAAD. She's getting flack from every gay Inc. corporation who has given her money because she's bisexual.
I want money for being bisexual.
I have to say that I admire her gumption more than Manchin because she has a lot more to lose.
I do too, especially in a state like Arizona where they pick strange candidates. I mean, for God's sake, these people elected McCain how many fucking times? They've got Kristen Sinema and an astronaut. Those are their elected senators. What other state can boast a lineup like that? Like California has one senator who's dead, another one who's serving a position that was Kamala's. That's basically our sort of lineup here. But only in Arizona do you get a pilot and a bisexual woman in a Jennifer Garner and Alias wig, and a Party City wig as your senators. That's kind of badass. And you know what? She could win with a larger percentage.
I have so much respect for her because she's sticking to her guns and she's sticking to her morals and integrity.
No, I agree. She didn't come there to make friends.
She has lost so much because of the stances that she's
By the
taking.
way, I feel like I'm giving away a secret to Democrats here. If you want Joe Manchin on your side, it's not hard. Bring him into the room, ask him what he wants. Ask him 3 things that he wants. Pick one of them, he'll sign on to it. It happens every single time. When he said in that Build Back Better bill, he said, I agree with it, just do $3 billion for the child care thing instead of $6 billion. If they would have said yes, he would have done it. It's not hard. He'll just haggle with you, but they don't know how to haggle, and that's why they lose every single time. They're so stupid. He's not difficult.
He's not like us.
Well, he's not like Collins and Murkowski and these other Republicans that hopefully eventually get voted out for just being obnoxious. It's stupid. Murkowski might lose in Alaska.
How old is she?
She lives about
Because
158.
well, she's been there a while. I know.
Been there since it was a state. Well, Representative Don Young has been he's been only the second person elected to the House of Representatives into Alaska, and he died in office. The front runner to replace him is Sarah Palin, and she might win. She's been Trump endorsed. She's been Rand Paul endorsed. She's been endorsed by a host of other luminaries, and she's the lead in the polls. And it's an open, I think it's called a jungle primary, an open primary, where it's like whoever gets the first. That's the term. Because
it's very racist.
Republicans and Democrats. It's Alaska.
But it still has very racist undertones.
That's the term, jungle primary,
okay,
because
fine.
you can. I think it's whoever survives. Anyway, I think it's a mixed primary or whatever the hell it's called.
That's worse.
It's a BIPOC primary, and we all are living in it. So Sarah Palin could theoretically very soon be in Congress. And I think it's great. I hope she wins. She's obviously beloved in Alaska. That's the thing that I think that people don't understand. It's getting back to sort of a general political point. This is tying it all the way back to the beginning. The reason that politicians... Don't look at your watch you're not wearing. The reason that politicians get elected to certain offices that we don't like or anything like that is because for some reason in their district people like them, and no one ever wants to do the work to figure that out, because the incumbent advantage, okay, let's say the incumbent advantage gets you 40% of the vote. What gets you that extra 10 to 15 that pushes them over the top? Is it because they smell nice? Is it because they built a bridge? Is it because they brought back funding for something that people wanted? Is it because they sound like some people from that area? What is it that pushes politicians over that thing to get elected time and time and time again? So let's say incumbent advantage is 40 to 45. There still has to be an extra 5 to 10%. You can overcome an incumbent advantage if you're good enough and if you paint the incumbent bad enough, or if they've done a bad enough job. Because you get weird politicians. Why is Liz Cheney representing Wyoming? And she's probably going to lose by a lot. It's hard.
She's the only one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the only representative.
Yeah.
It's one of the few single representative states.
Right.
Why does Susan Collins keep getting elected? Why does Lisa Murkowski keep getting elected? Well, her dad was governor of Alaska. But there's certain races that are baffling.
Well, no, there's something to be said of name recognition.
Jim Justice is the governor of West Virginia. He's a billionaire that showed his dog's ass
There
in
were
regards
two
to COVID
reasons.
restrictions.
There were two reasons Michelle Lujan Grisham won governorship of New Mexico.
Because she's a
Number
lady.
one, it was sort of a referendum on Martinez, right?
Yeah.
They didn't like what she did. She didn't do the best of jobs, so they were going to vote for the other party. That was number one. Maybe the most, maybe that was the higher of the factors. But the other factor was her name. Lujan, I'm sorry. Not Grisham. Lujan, which is why she hyphenated, by the way.
Yeah.
Because her maiden name, Lujan, is one of the biggest names in New Mexico politics.
Isn't her Ben Ray Lujan?
Right. So
representative?
no, the senator, one of the two senators.
So the same
from
family.
New
What was it?
Mexico.
Her brother or something? Her brother-in-law
I don't
or
know.
something like that. Okay, so what kind of county commissioner from Casino bullshit is this? She's the governor. He's the senator. They're all in the same family.
There's been some Lujan in
New Mexico state politics.
Yeah, in New Mexico politics forever. They used to be Republican, by the way, because, and now I'm bringing it back. The funeral that I sang for, where Michelle Lujan Grisham was in attendance, was for one of her family members, Manuel Lujan, who was a Republican, who served as undersecretary of something in the Reagan administration.
Oh.
So he lived in Washington, D.C. He was a bigwig, but he was a Lujan, right?
Yeah.
That name reigns supreme in New Mexico. So, that family used to be, highly Republican. Something has changed along the line, where now, Ben Ray Lujan and Michelle Lujan Grisham are now staunchly as progressive
not
as progressive
centrist
can
Democrats.
be.
It
No.
sounds like they went hard on the woke shit.
Yeah.
Well, Louisiana politics is the same thing. Isn't Bell Edwards part of a whole
don't
family?
Get me started.
Bell Edwards family, and then who's that one?
Right. John Bell Edwards is some relative, I don't know what, of Edwin Edwards, who was one of the only politicians in the United States who was reelected after being convicted of a felony. I mean, only in Louisiana.
You know that.
But to be fair, the reason he was reelected is because his opponent was a Grand Duke of the KKK. So it was like, well, what are we gonna pick? Convicted felon, Grand Duke of the KKK. Well, we don't have much of a choice.
6 eggs and 1 half
That is the one election that my mother did not vote in because she said, I will not pull a lever for either of these men. She said, I can't do it. I can't do it in good conscience.
I would have written in Howie Long. Not Howie Long.
Huey Long.
Huey Long. Howie Long is the football.
The one who'd been
commentator.
assassinated 8 million years ago?
Yeah. Huey Long would have been an interesting president.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, the first populist president.
Yes, I know. He was the first populist politician.
Why'd they kill him?
Because he was a populist.
Oh.
Some statists did not like that.
Interesting.
And the guy who killed him went to my high school. Was a graduate from my high school.
I was like, you graduated high school in the 30s?
Don't make me older than I am.
I was like, my God.
He was a graduate of my high school.
Interesting.
There is still fake blood splatter on the wall of the Capitol.
Why fake?
They made a movie of Huey Long's assassination. Well, of Huey Long.
Wait,
and so part of...
What?
They made a movie about Huey Long.
Okay, but they left the paint on the wall?
So, when they shot the scene of him getting shot, during the assassination scene, they shot it in the actual state capitol where it happened. And, yeah, you can still see, remnants of stuff that they can't clean off.
So not the actual shooting, but the movie
Right,
shooting.
so the movie, the fake blood that was
Yeah.
splattered against the wall, there's still, little specks that you can sort of see.
Did you and I talk about the JFK thing? Real quick before we wrap that up.
Similarly,
Similarly what?
in the Louisiana State Capitol, in the Senate chamber, in the 90s, a mail bomb went off. One of the state senators got a bomb in the mail. It went off in the chamber.
Yeah.
It launched a pencil up into the ceiling, and they have not removed it, and it has not fallen. It has not fallen. The pencil is still there from 35 years
It's like when you
ago.
go to an old timey barn, there's still the dollars in the ceiling, and you can see it's old money, it's before they even put Washington on the currency.
It's one of the coolest things.
That's kind of
whole-
awesome.
And they actually have now taken out the light, because the ceiling is such that it has recesses where they have lights in each of these honeycomb shaped things.
Yeah.
And so they took out the light of that one, so you know which one to look for
For the
and you can
pencil.
sort of see it dangling there.
That's a cool field trip.
I went there 5 times.
I want to see it. I want to see the pencil on the ceiling.
And you can see my great-great-great-grandfather's picture because he was a state representative.
That's so fucking cool.
His picture is on the wall of
You said great, great, great?
one of the greats, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's great-great-grandfather. Murphy Williams Jr.
Wow.
Because my grandfather was Murphy Williams III. And my uncle is Murphy Williams IV.
Has the name continued?
No.
Oh. So if you have a child, can you name him Murphy Williams V? 6.
That's a big if.
Win.
I'm not going to have a child.
But if you have a child, would you
I would
have
not
Murphy?
name him that because my last name is not Williams.
Well, what if you just named the middle name was Murphy Williams V?
That's not how names work.
You could just keep adding names like the Mexicans do.
Anyway,
before we end the JFK thing,
what about him?
so I went to the grassy knoll and I looked, and yeah, you can get a clearer shot there. But have you heard the thing that came out that said, now they declassified more of the paperwork. Even they haven't declassified everything from the whole. Like, there's still some papers that are being redacted because, for God knows reason, everyone's basically dead. I mean, who's still alive?
Edie Beale. No, she's dead.
I wish. Could you imagine? She would have definitely hosted Drag Race. They've played her so many fucking times. I mean, Jackie's sister, Lee Radziwill, her daughter-in-law was in Real Housewives.
I'm sorry. One little aside
Or
here.
was it her daughter?
Can we please do one of those Mystery Science Theater things where we watch Grey Gardens and talk over it
Yes.
and give the commentary?
And this is the outfit for the day. I'll do the flag dance. Everyone's going to be happy.
Well, because you would totally be little Edie and I would
Big
be
Edie.
the big bitch. I'm sorry, the little bitch in the bed saying,
And Kyle's the boy who delivers the groceries.
Mother told me. Yes, I told you.
Have you seen the Fred Armisen reenactment of it?
I didn't want to go down this road. Yes, I have.
It's
Anyway,
so good.
Back to JFK.
It's so good when the ceiling falls in. Mother has too many cats. And then it turns out they're serial killers. I love that. Speaking of serial killers, back to JFK. It was Manson the whole time. No. There was something that came out that basically admitted, yes, Oswald shot at him. Yes, it hit him in the back, but he could have survived it. But the shot, the quote, magic bullet that came through his head came from the front, and unfortunately, it was an accident. It was a Secret Service agent trying to fire back at where the shot came from, went through the seat that Connolly was sitting in, and through his head, and through the back, which is why it hit at such a great impact to cause the fatal blow. That was a theory, and it would explain the reason for the secrecy and the cover-ups and the Warren Commission and all these things. It was not an intentional act. It was an accident. And that was the one that it would have injured him, and that's what killed him. And you can't have something saying, well, the Secret Service shot the bullet that killed him.
Well,
That's which makes more sense than any other theory. It was a tragic accident. Because
I hate that you brought this up.
well, as they've said in JFK things, like when you look at the mafia and the Cubans and all these other things, all these other conspiracies, they've always said, at this point, who didn't want him dead? Apparently everybody did.
So I hate that you bring this up. Because you stumbled upon the plan that I set in motion.
To kill me?
Where someone will, we'll be on our way to Korean barbecue or something. Someone will shoot you from behind.
And you shoot me from the front?
And I'll turn around and pull out my Hello Kitty pink pistol. Accidentally shoot you in the eye. And Kyle is scrambling to scoop up your brains and shove it back in your skull, and I'm like...
As long as he's wearing the Chanel suit. And a real one, not like Jackie's fake one with the buttons.
Well, you gotta pay for it. I don't...
Wow. Can you imagine him in a pillbox hat, 6'4"? That's gonna be really upsetting for everybody involved.
And then, the poor Uber driver is gonna just be...
And you're gonna sit there and be like, tell me I'm your national anthem. It's gonna be really upsetting for everybody. Take your buddy downtown. It wouldn't be the first time, it won't be the last.
it'll be our,
That'll be my 9/11. I don't know about yours.
It'll be our Dallas parade.
Anyway. No, I think that's really interesting because that would explain a lot. In the same way that with 9/11...
Me setting up to kill you, or JFK's
No,
death?
the JFK thing. No, you're gonna try that and you're gonna fail, but...
I never fail at anything.
Well, I'm going to bring my Hello Kitty pink pistol too, and then we'll have pink pistols on 7th Street in Koreatown. But, be high noon at 6 p.m.
By midnight.
High midnight. But, no.
Actually, as Kyle's scooping up your brains in the back, he'll probably be high. And I'll be drunk in the front seat going, gotcha, bitch.
I got some to spare, and you're going to have to deal with me with a fucked up
Oh,
head.
fuck you.
I'll survive. I could take a few shots at least. But, what? I could.
Shots of vodka, but maybe not
That
shots
too. But, back to this. Turn off your hinge. We're recording.
I'm not Pete Buttigieg.
It sounds like it's the same thing like a lot of the things that people make conspiracies about, but there is reason to be questioning of it. But the actual answer is incompetence and or a tragic mistake. Like the same thing with, as I said in the piece this week on Bulletproof Diction, and I also covered it on Carpe Forum, it's incompetence / a tragic mistake that a lot of these things happen.
Plugging his shit.
I plugged my shit. I plugged your shit.
You not plugged my shit.
There's more shit plugged here than a Gas X convention.
You've not plugged my shit, because I did have a piece come out this week, and I was not...
Which one would you like to plug? Because you have a few.
No, I just had the one so far.
This also counts last week.
The other one that I've written...
Well, this counts last week, though, too. Like the pieces you had come out last week, because we didn't talk about them.
I don't even remember, so it doesn't matter. My point is,
he doesn't know
you're plugging your shit, I am plugging my shit.
Okay, well, I want to plug... So, Mitchell did a deep dive in the data on Twitter followers, and which ones are real and which ones are fakakta, and found out some interesting information. So, what did you find out?
Well, okay, so the fake followers, thing was not... That's not where the money story is. Yes, GLAAD, HRC, The Advocate, they all have a lot of fake followers. A lot.
Okay. What's the average percentage that you found of that? Like more than 50%?
No. Because the POTUS account was right at 50%.
Okay, so half the president's followers, half the followers of the president's account are fake.
Right.
And I have a feeling when you create a new Twitter account, that's one of the 5 accounts that they suggest that you follow.
Probably.
So these bots that create fake Twitter accounts, it's one of the 5.
Automatically.
That and Apple Incorporated and God knows what else.
Right. So the fake followers part was not the bigger story. It looks like the bigger story because it looks like a big deal because they have a lot of fake followers. But percentage-wise, it seems to be on par with a lot of the bigger accounts. Mm-hmm. But still, numbers-wise, not percentage, but actual numbers-wise, it's a lot. The big story, I think, is the engagement.
Oh, okay. So you can measure that.
Yes.
You can measure, it's a comment of retweets, likes, comments, and if it's a media, if it's like a video, views.
So they made very sure this algorithm, this company, this software that I used, they made very sure to only keep it to retweets and likes.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you'll get comments that are negative, right? So if someone goes out...
Not me, but other people.
Well, for example, the White House puts out a statement and they get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comments. Half of them are going to be negative, half of them might be in support, right? So if you say that you're getting engagement, positive engagement, and half of them are negative, that's misleading.
Kind of phony baloney.
Right. So, but liking and retweeting, not quote tweeting, but retweeting, are the two things where it's clear that, okay, you probably somewhat endorse the message.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So that's the metrics they really go off of. So they base an engagement score off of comparing an account's retweets and likes to an account that has a similar number of followers. Mm-hmm. Right? So if an account has 100,000 to 200,000 followers. And I think they did 50. So 100,000 to 150,000 followers. They would compare those and say the average for most accounts with that many followers has X amount of retweets, and you have
Right.
this amount of average.
And
retweets.
that's everybody, verified, non-verified,
Yes,
fitness
everyone.
accounts,
Yes, everyone.
brands, everything.
Across the board, yes. So when you break down the numbers, HRC, GLAAD, Advocate, LGBTQ Nation,
And those are the big names in gay media, basically.
yes, they all had, well, HRC had slightly higher than average, but all of the others, so GLAAD, Advocate, and LGBTQ Nation, had severely less likes and retweets.
Ooh.
Severely,
That's
like way down than the comparable accounts.
And they put out a lot of content every day.
Outspoken and Log Cabin Republicans had 8 to 12 times the similar account average. So whereas these other ones were lower than the similar accounts, the conservative ones were not only higher, 8 to 12 times higher.
But those accounts had to build up from nothing, whereas these other publications were, or interest groups or whatever, 501c3s, those were in existence long before this, which speaks even worse to their coverage, because the Advocate and all these other magazines and outlets and nonprofits should be at a very high engagement level, given the fact they've been around forever. They should have built an audience by now. Outspoken's a couple years ago. Log Cabin has only had a social media presence for the past few years, and has only been doing it in earnest for the past couple of years. So the fact that they're really excelling in this area is a very good sign. And it also shows that, I guess, the step beyond engagement is, maybe invent a new term now, authentic curiosity. And so that's people who are intellectually curious enough to retweet, like, follow, click a link, open to a new tab, take a look at the things that you guys are posting. And it sounds like that, I would guess, authentic curiosity quotient is higher for you folks than it is for them. They're not winning over new hearts and minds. You guys are. Because you're getting people who are interested in what you're saying and posting and publishing, to the point where people are like, okay, I didn't consider myself political, but I guess I am gay and conservative. I guess I am bisexual and libertarian. I guess I am, lesbian and on the right. That's kind of exciting. Because these other publications, their audiences are baked in, and also their audiences are aging. The Advocate, Out, like all those things they're all old hat now. It's like the Village
Right,
Voice,
and-
like it's a relic at this point, and they haven't chosen to innovate.
It sort of speaks to the two reasons that in my piece that I alluded to as to why this might be happening. One of them being you have hundreds of thousands of followers, but they don't agree or like the content you're putting out, right?
Right.
So it very well could be that these people are, towing the LGBTQ plus line, right?
Right.
So they're following the accounts that they feel like they need to follow.
Because I'm supposed to.
But they don't necessarily agree with the stuff that they're saying and
Right.
putting out. So they're not going to retweet it or
Well,
like
to
it.
be fair, half the stuff they put out is just inane shit.
Right.
Like,
So-
it's just
so- but-
oh, Kristen Stewart said this and we're all slaying. Like, who cares?
Right. So that's one, aspect of it. And you're absolutely right. Half to 2/3 of some of these publications' articles are just complete drivel.
Yeah,
Like,
enough to numb
complete-
your brain to when they put actual political things in there, you agree with it because it's just part of the regular rotation. Like, oh yeah, maybe the Republicans are.
Well, yeah, but then the political stuff that they put out is like, well, actually, no, I think you've misquoted or you've misrepresented data.
Watch Ron DeSantis strangle a bear on a public
Right.
stage.
Anyway, that's not the point. So my
I'd vote for him if he
point
did.
my point being, either those hundreds of thousands of followers do not agree enough to retweet or like it, or right, it could be and.
Yes, and or.
It could be this, as I said, this effect of censorship, right? So if something is censored, everyone clamors to it, right? So if a book is banned, everyone goes to buy it, right? So it's that same effect. On Twitter, who's being censored, who's being shut down? Conservative voices.
Yeah.
And so as conservatives, we say, we need to retweet even more. We need to like and retweet and interact even more with our own content.
Signal boost.
So it gets right. So the algorithm picks it up and gets it disseminated to more people.
It's very hard to go viral with a conservative tweet unless it's a joke, and it has to be a good joke, and it has to be something that has crossover appeal. If you don't have that,
Right. Well,
you're not gonna go viral.
but that's controlled with like trending stuff, right?
Right.
That's controlled with like a different algorithm.
When you get to tens of thousands of likes,
When you're just basing an engagement score off of
everyday
average number of
content,
retweets and likes, you miss all the bullshit.
No, that's true. It's true. Well, that's good research that you did, because I feel like no one's actually done that research for what impact does gay media actually have, and on the first day of Pride month of the year, I said first month, but first day of Pride month of the year, why not cover something that actually affects this community?
Hi, gay.
Hi, Kate. You saw she did a sequel video.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that was good. But the first one was good. Well, it's hard to beat the you
Right.
You just go through and hit the beat. To this point, I wish that she had like the Westboro Baptist Church do it with her. That would have been a lot more fun.
What's that video that I've used a couple
You
times?
pissed off God. You'll see what he's got.
9/11.
You ain't God. By the way, that went off harder than Poker Face did.
You did tell me that there was one thing you wanted to bring up, and maybe that's the best to leave at the end.
Are you talking about viewer reviews?
Yes, which is what I was going to lead into. You wanted to mention something about, which I have not heard, so this is whatever he's going to say.
It was
news
only
to me.
negative. Someone called
Well,
me
it
a
probably is
racist and a
negative.
dilettante. And someone I know.
It probably is negative, because no one talks to me about this except two people.
No, I plugged that because I was like, I want to mention that someone who considers themselves an attorney, has not passed the bar, called me a racist dilettante for this episode for the things that I do, which I thought was really funny. And that was the only review I wanted to mention, because I know that she's never
You
listened
didn't want
to
to say
podcasts.
anything about positive about us?
No, I want to give the negative reviews. Those are more fun because, first of all, yes. Second of all, get a job. Third of all, I'm so glad that you're listening. If she is, she's probably not. She's probably too busy with her messy room and her messy life. But clean that up before you come for me, bitch. That's all. That's all. Anyway.
I'm not going to say anything.
No, she should. She should clean it up. That was the only thing I wanted to bring up. But great. No, everybody else has been universally positive. Shout out to Mike W in the comments. Shout out to Colin. Shout out to all these people on YouTube who've been so supportive. Like, they've been the people actually listening to the whole thing and giving us feedback. Shout out to the people who listen when I make a typographical error in my speech and correct me. That's nice. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So, I have to say, good night, and fuck you all.
No.